Thiago Pendas. Just rewatching it now, my name's Sirka Möller, I'm a member of the Panorama Selection Committee, and on the big screen I really love the dancing scene, because I think there's so many sad parts of the story, the destroyed nature, the people that are not really getting what they would need, and you give us a little bit of hope, and lots of people happily dancing even though they barely have electricity, so thank you for that. I've really enjoyed it, but maybe you can tell a bit about how the film came about.
So thank you very much for the audience. It's amazing to be here, Berlinale. And what I really want to show is that even though there's kind of conditions that they had to live there, but for me, they are very big resistance people, and they're still there even though all these problems, especially the lack of electricity. But I really want to show those people as human beings, so everybody is not only sad. People sometimes play, they pray, they dance, and even though in Pará State we're very connected to music, so I really like when they told me that they're gonna be a party. Even though there's not electricity, it's only generator. They use an oil generator to do that party.
How often do these parties happen?
Very few.
Okay.
Because it's expensive to get this kind of energy. And Rosa, the person with the boat woman, and also owner of the bar, and she really wants to give this party also show. So I think it's a very participated film, so a lot of things that they suggest for me, they really want to show them also, as in other ways that people really normally show them.
We're of course also here for your questions. We have 2 microphones in the room. If you give clear hand signs, my colleagues will come to you. Sie können auch auf Deutsch fragen. Meine Kolleginnen müssen nur mit dem Mikrofon zu Ihnen kommen. There is the first question, yes.
How many people have, how high a percentage of the population has already turned to radical Protestantism, extreme Protestantism, the Pentecostalism, as we saw well presented in that little extraction of the church service, of the religious service? Do they already constitute majority of the population?
Oh, especially in this film, it was a church. It was a Catholic church. Even though I really want to show that there's a very big issues about religion in Amazon in general, and also there's not too many priests. So for me, it was interesting to show women celebrating the mass. So I think it's a very strong image. But of course, in the whole of Brazil, we had the past years a big growth of evangelical religion, but in this end specifically was Catholic Church, and of course we changed a lot the how can I say, the perspective of religion in the past, especially in these communities in Amazon. We had more Catholic Church, and we had also still a lot of priests and other religious people fighting for justice. So in the past, and still there, we had much more this religious connected to more movements, right movements. But this is the opposite of sometimes people from evangelical, they are more conservative. So this is a very big issue also in Brazil right now.
Thank you.
There's somebody in the back there, I think. There in the corner? No? Sorry, you'll be next then.
I would like to know why is it black and white?
Yes. Well, the film, normally when you said about Amazon, you must see big trees and forests and rivers and animals, and normally very beautiful shot, and so I really want to focus on people. So I think this film is about people, and sometimes it's naive, kind of naive to say that people live in Amazon. But I think sometimes people forget that, and there are so many traditional populations there for centers, and they are very wise. They are very connected to the forest and maintain the forest for centuries that now we are destroying. So I really want to address that even though this whole environmental thing, there are people living there. So the black and white, I think for me, focus much more on their stories and not only on the, how can I say, the nature. Okay, and also that one other thing is that we try to make a kind of timeless sense. So there's some footage from the past, and even though what happened now in Tucuruí began 40 years later, so 4 years ago, sorry. Sorry for my English. So what we do is that we try to think about the past to understand the present and maybe think about the future. So also history in Brazil now I think is a very important thing to discuss.
I think there was a question over there. I'm not sure if that's still current, and otherwise there's one here in the front. Okay, so we start there and then we go down to you. Okay.
Okay. Why did you decide to show yourself in the documentary? Like, how was the process that you made?
Yes, it was a 4 years documentary process. So of course the film changed a lot since the beginning, but in the recent years it becomes a kind of a trend to have these directors, characters, protagonists, something like that. And I really think that since the beginning, when I get there, of course, I have a lot of things about how we're going to shoot that or this. And what I really realize is that sometimes we are so arrogant as filmmakers because we think that we know everything. But when we get there, I see that there are more to learn than to teach. So they teach me much more. So we create this kind of character that really thinks about everything Amazon. And normally people, even though people in Brazil or people outside of Brazil, they go to Amazon with these images, and they really force people somehow to get these images and to get these things. So I really try to discuss that also, that we need to learn, we need to listen to these people. And in this famous sense, already people talk about that Mr. Vicente talks a lot of things, and when I tried to interview him, he didn't talk to me at all. So I really think that this really shows that how it's tough sometimes to understand this region, this territory. We need to think about more.
I think we also, that became clear in the Q&A at the premiere when quite a few Brazilians were in the audience, that this is a region that in Brazilian cinema is almost invisible. You know, you see all these nature films and it maybe in the news, but not really in cinema. So you've been trying to also create a cinematic image for the region, and you're actually from there, so you're not an outsider coming in looking at exotic pictures.
Yes. I'm born in Belém do Pará, who is the capital of Pará State, and really this matter always talked to me that how to show my own region, and also I want to make a film about this theme, about this story, but I really want to make in a different narrative, cinematography way. So there's also a balance to how to manage that, because sometimes when you have some documentaries about especially environmental themes, I think that sometimes they are much more focused on the theme and not too much in the cinematography side. So I really try to balance this, to have these two things in the film. But Thiago is also the producer and cinematographer, so if you want to ask him more about cinematography, he's the guy.
Well, it probably wasn't easy shooting somewhere because cameras need electricity, no?
Yeah.
Batteries and stuff?
And to shoot in dark.
Well, yeah, actually, that's a very curious question. We who had a lot of oil with us. We asked them before, oh, we need to have electric power for like 8 hours to recharge the 2 cameras that we were using, computers, and based it on their experience, we listened to them, and they told us, oh, we need like I don't remember by now, like 50 liters of diesel gas, and we bought it to keep the motor on and to recharge all the batteries like every day after coming back with the boat.
And were their calculations correct, or did you have lots left over?
Oh, yeah, they did it correctly.
Okay.
They're wise.
There's a question here in the front.
Congratulations for the movie. I'm also from Brazil, and I would like to know, you brought some context for the past president like Getúlio Vargas and the context that brought that situation like that, but you choose, or I don't know if the timing of the movie didn't get to reach Bolsonaro's election, and context, bring a little more about the context that now the new administration is bringing to the space and a lot of things.
Yeah, what happened that at the final process of the film, we had this big wildfires in Amazon that we really tried to bring to the film, because one thing is that Tucuruí case is not only one, so there are other questions around Amazon. And what happens in the current government is that all the, how can I say, protection systems, departments of environment, so everything changed, so it become more easy to destroy, easy to take fire. That's true. So it's complicated because we had system for protection. We have parks, reserves, and other departments, federal department, to take care of this. And what is happening in Brazil is that we have military people in most top positions in almost every department in Brazil, for everywhere. So it's a different vision. I just saw in the film Getúlio Vargas, and people look to Amazon, a place empty and with any people, and a place to be conquered, to be exploited.
The last quote that we heard here from the television, that's Bolsonaro, and he's saying it's an empty space with lots of resources. So I think it is already hinting at what's to come. But I thought it was actually quite interesting that you're looking at something that happened 40 years ago, and that's a blueprint for what is happening right now. Sometimes we can realize the present much better by looking at the past, because if you look at the present, there is a lot of things that might be confusing, and you know, that it's sometimes easier to dig for what really happened later on.
Yes, that's true.
More questions? Yes, there.
Hi, I would like to know about the decision you took in the political scene, because it looks like you keep very conservative about things. You don't give so much your point of view in the film. It feels very, how to say, very neutral. I also would like to know what is the opinion of the people from Belém, from Pará. It feels, I don't know, how are they supporting the president? What do they think about what is going on in the government right now?
Okay. I really think that the film is very political. I think they don't have a kind of a, because for now in Brazil, when you say the word political, in the past years, they criminalized the professional political, the senators, the congressmen, everything else. But I really think that everybody is a political person. Everybody is political. So I think Brazil is very divided, so very polarized. So what is complicated because people are in the margins of or left or right, and they didn't talk. So we don't have any kind of dialogue. So I think this gap that was bringing us to Bolsonaro, because a lot of people didn't see the political, they try new things, but the new things, of course, are much more conservative. So in Pará state, Bolsonaro lose, and a lot of Northeast and some North states, but in the rest of Brazil, he won. So I think it's much more, people talk about, of course, of Bolsonaro, who's a complicated person, but what I say that a lot of parts of Brazilian population support him and support this kind of government. So it's much more complex and much more, how can I say, sometimes you just point one figure, one person, but there is, like he was casual about evangelical people, and there's a lot of parts of Brazilian population they are conservative and they support. And so we see each and each day much more crazy things happening on, and people just say, okay, let's approve the reform of retirement reform. So let's reform a state. So people just like saying okay to everything that he does because they have economical interests. I answer you? So I really think this is a neutral thing. I believe taking Getúlio Vargas, Bolsonaro at the end, and everything that we put from the military regime, I really don't think the film is neutral.
So I have a question about the your ways of like structuring the material and selecting the material that you shot, because you already said that you shot for I think 4 years. So I assume there's a lot of material that accumulated. At the same time, you said it was sometimes difficult to get people to talk in front of the camera, and it probably wasn't as easy as as some people imagine it would be. So yeah, while watching it, I was wondering what the structure was, in the sense that it felt to me more like a journey, even though I didn't have any geographical orientation. Yes. Like maybe you even like everything was in order. Maybe like you took a trip around or something, rather than just focusing on one family, for example. Yes. So yeah, I was wondering like how much material did you have? How did you decide to structure it? How did that change throughout the process?
Yes, it was a lot of. I don't think it was a lot of material at all, because, but it was a journey, and what happened that we made like first cut like 45 minutes and understand what's going on, and then we're gonna. Normally, what happened that I was a little bit worried in the beginning, because normally when I heard about documentaries, people make like 5 hours cut, 3 hours cut, and then cut. And now for me it was the opposite, because I make a smaller one, and then I go on. So during the film, you see shooting footage from all different years. For example, the first one of the first sequences, you see the drawn image of the hydroelectric plant. It was made in the first travel to there, so for 2016. So we mix it up a lot. So sometimes we organize, we need boats, and now we need rain, or maybe we want trees and something like that. So we organize all this material. So every time we are trying to need something, when maybe some use footage from different periods of time.
But you were not there all the time. I mean, how many days did you shoot on the lake? Because 4 years always sounds like a really long time, but you probably did other projects in between. Yes. You were not working, or were you working full time on?
It was six travel during the 4 years, because normally the lake, the reservoir, is much more down during January, and it was much more the way I want to show the trees and something like that. So normally go there, but last year we went 2 times and make the final, the principal photography and the final sequences.
More questions, comments, Fragen, Kommentare? Ja, ganz da oben in der allerletzten Reihe. and then.
Hello, I just wanted to ask, during the filmmaking, did you get the impression that the people could speak freely, or they oppressed in front of the cameras, or they are afraid of in front of the cameras? Maybe they face consequences, government or local government or rich families or so on, so they cannot say everything?
No, I don't think so. They are very quiet, tranquil about that. They are not. I don't think they're gonna have any kind of a trouble with that. That's okay. They're very kind of isolated. They don't have too much interaction with the government. So I think this is the last problem that they had.
Okay, thank you.
I think one microphone. Yeah, but we need to get the microphone down here, and in the meantime, this gentleman can ask his question.
Eu vou perguntar em português, pode ser?
Pode, claro.
Eu só queria voltar às questões das citações ao Getúlio, ao regime militar e ao Bolsonaro. Queria, na verdade, entender melhor por que você fez essa escolha de 3 governos de direita, sendo que a questão do Amazonas, né, a problemática com o Amazonas não é exclusividade dos governos de direita, né? A gente tem todas as questões com o governo PT, né? Só falar do Belo Monte, né? Então, que você escolheu citar só os governos de direita, assim, eu só queria entender melhor. E você fez a foto, né? Você não acha que o preto e branco esteticiza ainda mais a imagem?
And
okay, I'm gonna answer. He asked.
Yeah, you're gonna repeat the question.
Yes, I'm gonna repeat the question. He asked about because I choose to show 3 far-right governments, military government, almost military government. Getúlio Vargas, Geisel, and Bolsonaro, and also about the photography. And we didn't talk about PT governments, especially in Belo Monte, and also about the photography. He's gonna explain. Okay, so what happens that we choose to talk about Tucuruí specifically. I was thinking and somehow to talk about Belo Monte, but there was a lot of other projects about Belo Monte, and I really want to think about the past. So 4 years ago, and the consequences of that, and I really don't. How can I say? If I go to Belo, if I need to talk about that, I need to go to Belo Monte. And Belo Monte was a different story, even though it's similar, but I really want to focus on Tucuruí because I really think that we don't understand, we don't learn from the mistakes of Tucuruí, and then I repeat the cycles and everything else. So I think Belo Monte is much more complex for different communities, other things. So I really think that when we show this, we think about how we're going on today. So we fight past and today. So even though I agree with you, there's a lot of things that during the government of PT had questions in Belo Monte also, but I really try to focus on this project, especially because the environmental questions, the social questions, is also about history.
So there's plenty more films to be made in Pará.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, there's a question.
He asked about if filming in black and white isn't in English would be beautiful for being beautiful, like something like this, estetizante. When we decided to film in black and white, there are 2 still photographers that live in Pará. One of them is a female photographer, Paula Sampaio, where we brought the rights of her book to film inspired by her book. And she always photographed people in the Amazon in black and white. So we kind of wanted to do like a continuation of her work, and we wanted to photograph these people too, like in a beautiful way, to see that they are beautiful, they are powerful. For example, if you see the last scene of Gigi traveling with his rabeta, this little boat, we kind of shooting from bottom to up, So even though he's in a very complex place with all of those trees drawn, he has some kind of power in him. He's beautiful, he's strong, and he can endure all this ugly place and all these problems. So it was a kind of decision to make these people look important and rich in a way.
There is a question in the front, and this will have to be the last question.
Obrigado pelo trabalho, parabéns. Two small questions. The first, would you like to go on with this subject? I mean, it's just beginning now with the whole problem we have in Amazon, so if you already have plans to go on. And the second point, I've heard for a lot of filmmakers that you have a big problem with Ancine now. So how do you think we're going to distribute to show the film in Brazil, and have you got already contacts to show somewhere else?
Yes. Okay. This film was a result of public funding. A system that first we had a fund for development, research, and then for filming and post-production. So I never been here with this support that unfortunately is now fading. So we don't know yet how we're going to distribute it, but everybody asks me if this film is going to show in Brazil. And I can assure you that I'm going to show this film in Brazil, okay? So we're gonna show this film, and even though it's gonna be a small distribution, but we're gonna show this film in Brazil for sure. I can assure you that.
And you're gonna take a generator with 50 liters of diesel to show it on the lake, right? In Rosas Bar.
Yeah, we're gonna show it in the lake, but me and Thiago, we're gonna shoot in April a series about big projects in other state, who is Amapá. It's going to be a 5 episodes TV series about big projects in Amazon. So
any of them successful?
No. That's complicated also.
Okay. Well, you're both still here, so anybody who has more questions can then also continue. Yes. But did you want to add famous last?
Yeah, because of the first place in Brazil we want to show the movie is at the lake, and yes, we will need oil to generator to show the people the film. They were the first one in Brazil to see it.
Estreia brasileira.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Please don't forget the Panorama Audience Award. If you like the film, please vote for it. If you write down your name, you can also win something in the draw on Sunday. And we are very happy that Panorama has the largest jury of this festival. Thank you very much. Do come again and hope to see you at some other screenings. Schönen Abend noch.